Hi everyone, welcome to week 2. I just wanted to touch base with you all about some things that I learned and thought about this week now that we are done with week 1. Thank you so much for all of your submissions and all the hard work you've put in this week. I know it was a lot. So a couple things that I learned I wanted to talk about. First and foremost, it was I was reminded, because really I knew this, I think I just forgot because of summer vacation or whatever, but when you're working on Canvas, Safari is not the ideal browser. So I had some students reach out that the Canvas quiz wasn't reading the graphs and tables properly, and that's because they were in Safari, it turns out. So as soon as they switched to Google Chrome or Firefox, the issue was resolved. So please, if you're a Mac user, try to use Google Chrome or Safari when you're doing your work on Canvas. Something else I wanted to talk about was the timing of our work. So this particular week, because we had so much to do with our Getting Started module, and then also our first week's worth of content, your homework wasn't due until Saturday night, and your quiz, of course, is due on Monday night. Well, two things I want to say about that. First of all, moving forward, the homework will be due on either Wednesday or Thursday. And then the quizzes will be due, or the end of the week, whatever, the end of the unit is due on Sunday. So we are going to run on a Sunday to Sunday basis moving forward. And because of that, I'm going to push the homework up to needing to be done by Wednesday or Thursday, depending on the week. The reason for that, and this is also something I thought about this week, is when you submit your homework, I need maybe a day or two to get in there and grade it. And then you need to be viewing the feedback or waiting until I post my answer key so that you can check your work and feel confident about your answers before you go take the quiz. I had a handful of students that submitted their homework, let's say on Thursday, and then they took the quiz on Thursday. Okay, well, I'm not mad at you for that. It's wonderful, but I did not grade any assignments on Thursday. So those students that chose to do that got no feedback whatsoever from me, and yet they went and took the quiz anyway. And then also my answer key didn't go live until the day after the assignment was due. So if the assignment was due on Saturday, that means my answer key went live this morning, Sunday. And so again, if you took your quiz before that, you might not have any idea if your answers matched mine, or if you were answering the questions the way that I would have intended you to answer those questions. So by moving the homework up to either Wednesday or Thursday, I'm hoping that that does two things. First of all, it's going to force us to engage in the work in the first half of the week, because I can guarantee you it is not good to put it all off to the end. So it's going to force the issue that we engage earlier on in the week. And then also it's going to give me and you time to review the feedback. So let's say you submit your homework on Wednesday and it was due on Wednesday. Okay, well, I'm going to grade it as soon as I can. Obviously it's a lot and I do my best to get it done quickly, but hopefully I'll have it graded like within 24 hours, maybe 48 hours. But if your homework was due on Wednesday and if the due date was on Wednesday, well, then the answer key goes live the very next day, always, no matter what the due date is. It's due on this day, the answer key gets posted the very next day. So even if I haven't graded your work yet, you can still go in there and compare your answers to mine and make sure that you were on the right track before you go take the quiz. That would be ideal, in my opinion. So pay attention to the due dates, and if at all possible, try not to submit your homework and take the quiz in the very same day. Unless you feel extremely confident, I would suggest giving yourself time to wait for my feedback, or at least wait for the answer key. And then once you're like, okay, I was getting all these right, I'm on the right track, I think I'm good, okay, fine, go take the quiz. So that's what I wanted to say about that. Also, speaking of due dates, I am being a little bit flexible this week because it's our very first week together, and some of you are submitting assignments like a day late, and I've been okay with that for now. However, let me just be clear that moving forward, it says very clear in the syllabus that late work is not accepted. So if you submit a homework assignment late, you will not be awarded points for it. So please pay attention to due dates. When it comes to quizzes, This is also in my syllabus when it comes to quizzes. If you submit the quiz a day late, I will grade it, but you'll have a 25% penalty on your grade. And if you submit the quiz more than a day late, it's just a 0. So again, pay attention to due dates, be aware of when assignments are opening and closing, and adhere to them, please. Otherwise, the grade might not be what you wanted. So that's my comment about that. And then with regards to the homework, let me just pull it up really quick. I think I still have it open. If not, I will have to reopen it. Of course not, I closed it. Hang on one second. Online learning, MAT151. Okay, so let me go back in here, share my screen. Okay, so the couple of comments I had about the homework, this is the answer key, it's posted on Canvas, go check it out. But my comments have to do with, first of all, the domain and range. Some of you are using inequality notation, which is what I'm using, and others of you are using what's called interval notation with parentheses and brackets. Quite frankly, I don't care, do whatever you want. However, I will say I personally like the inequality notation better. That's just my own personal preference. So you'll notice on my answer keys, I always use inequalities. If you choose to use the interval notation, that's fine, but please just make sure you use it correctly. A parentheses is for when it's not including that value, and a bracket is for when it is. The same way that with inequalities, we either put the equal to bar on it or we don't. So that is important. And then the other thing I want to say is anytime you have an open-ended question like number 1, you do need to still pick some form of a reasonable unit of measure and some reasonable domain. Here's what I mean. Some of you just said that the input was time. And I agree with you, it is time. But how are you measuring time? You have to indicate how you're measuring your variable, your quantity. So you can't just say time, you have to say hours, minutes, days, how are you measuring? The same would be true if we said the height. Okay, but how are we measuring height? Is it feet? Is it meters? Is it miles? So make sure you include the unit always, please. And then when it comes to your domain, some of you wrote me, a note on your homework and you said, well, I don't know where to cut this off. It's just infinite, I guess, because time is infinite, right? So we'll just let it be infinite. Okay, well, I hear you, but just because no time was specified does not mean that it's infinite. Time is infinite, yes. However, for the practical context of your cell phone does not hold a charge forever. It dies eventually. When does it die? Well, that's up for debate. So you just have to choose a value that makes sense, that's reasonable, and just slap it in there. You can write me a note if you want to. Some of you did. And you were like, I'm assuming it takes 8 hours for my phone to die. And that's fine. However you want to handle it is good. But please know that if it's practical domain and range, you will never, I repeat, never, that's a strong word, I don't use that word often, you will never have an infinity in a practical context. It has to stop somewhere, okay? Regular domain and range, sure, that could be infinite. Practical, no, okay? Okay. The other comment I had, let me think, did I have any other comments? Oh, just maybe the inverses. Some of you used the notation for inverse, but then didn't actually find the formula. So please make sure that, yes, we're using inverse notation, but you also need to literally invert the formula. So on this one, if the original formula was C is the output equal to 5b plus 12, then you rearrange the whole thing and you end up with C minus 12 over 5 divided by 5. So some of you were just saying, here's the notation, but didn't actually rearrange the formula using inverse operations. So just keep your eyes peeled for that. That's an example in our inverse lesson. I believe it's the last couple of slides in that lesson. What else? Table for the most part went well, or not table, sorry, graph. The graph went well for the most part. The only thing I will just touch base on real quick is this open circle indicates that the value is not quite technically there. Open circle means not equal to. So that's why this problem only had one answer You should not be counting the +2 as an actual point. And also notice in my domain, I am not using an equal to bar on the 2 because once again, that value is not included. For my interval notation friends, you would have used a parenthesis on that side, but a bracket everywhere else. Really? I think my husband is vacuuming. I apologize. The other thing is the variables. This particular context, we want to use variables A and B, not X and Y. Don't get me wrong, X and Y are totally the input and the output variables in a generic sense. But this particular graph, it was identified for you that the horizontal axis was A and the vertical axis was B. So just please be consistent. If the variables are chosen for you, then you need to use those variables. And I think that's kind of all I needed to say about that. For the most part, this last one went well. Number 4 went well. Again, my answer key is posted, so you can always get in there and look at it in more detail. And if you have any questions, of course, let me know. And then the last thing I want to say is you'll notice in this week's module, I did set up one thing slightly differently. Our homework document and submission for this week, I have it as 2 separate pages. So here's what I'm going to try. You'll see when you get into this module 2, you've got your lesson, a little checkpoint. Remember, the checkpoints are not graded. That's just for you. And then you have another lesson, additional videos if you need them, and then homework. So when you get to the homework, it's the same thing as this week. You have a PDF document to download and complete the assignment. But instead of submitting it right there, you're going to go to the next page in the Canvas module. And this is where you're going to submit your homework. So as you guys noticed when I graded your homework this week, I do a spot check sometimes on the accuracy of your answers. I don't do this every single time, but I do it sometimes. On certain weeks, I'll feel like it's necessary, and on other weeks, I might not. But sometimes I'm going to spot check. And I found myself finding the same errors, over and over. And what that ended up meaning for me is that I found myself typing the exact same comments over and over. And this isn't your guys' fault, of course, but I have 150 students. Like, it took a long time, and I'm still not done grading these. So then I thought, okay, how can I make this more efficient? How can I still give students feedback on the questions that I want to spot check, but not have to go in and, type it over and over and over and over. So I thought, well, let's try this. So now, after you do your homework, you're going to go into this submission, and it's set up to be a little quiz. Now, it's not going in the quiz category, I promise. It's going in the homework category. See, look, assignments, okay? Not quizzes. It's an assignment. But you're going to go in here, and these questions inside of this, quote, quiz are directly from the homework. When you're done with the homework, you'll see that this is straight up question 1 on your document. And you would have already done it. And you're just going to tell me this is the answer that most closely matches what I had. And then for number 2, this is straight up off the document. It's number 1, part B. So you'll already have answered it on your paper. Now you're just going to tell me inside of Canvas which option matches yours. And what's cool about this is if you happen to get it wrong, not only is it going to tell you that the answer was wrong, but I have pre-typed in my comments. So let's say that you said that the function was, 3x plus 12, and that's wrong. The function was really 3x plus 17. It's going to say, not only did you get it wrong, but it's going to say, oh, sorry, 12 is not the vertical intercept. Here's how you should have found the vertical intercept. And I'm going to actually talk you through or type out the steps so that you'll see, oh, okay, yeah, I got it wrong, but this is how it should have been done. So the feedback is right there, and it'll hopefully not only give you feedback more quickly, but also save me the time of having to type the same comment over and over and over. And then check it out. At the very bottom, you're still going to submit your homework as a PDF. So you're going to answer my 5 questions for spot checking, and then you're still going to upload your document, because the other 10 points of this assignment are simply, did you do it? So just effort. And is it neat, legible, organized, easy to read. So 10 points are pretty much a guarantee. And then the other 5 points come from spot checking the answers, which is exactly how we did it this week, guys. But the difference is I'm going to try to be more efficient and put it in Canvas quiz format instead. So we'll see how that works. So when you get there, hopefully you're not too confused. If you're confused, just ask me questions. Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say. Thank you again for your hard work this week. Oh, see, look, I still have 34 more homeworks to grade. And by the way, there are 80 151 students, so I'm a little over halfway done. Anyways, have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we will be in touch very soon. And if you have any questions, of course, you know where to find me. Oh, wait, one more thing. I lied. I also wanted to point out that in addition to me, of course, please remember that on the left-hand side of Canvas, Tutoring and Learning Center. So if you're working on your homework and it's, you know, within like the normal business day, let's say it's Tuesday at noon and you're stuck, you can go into that link and you'll be like right there on live time with a CUC tutor. The same way that you could pop into the library and get help. Well, these tutors are still getting paid. They're sitting behind their computer waiting for somebody to come into their virtual office and get help. So in addition to me setting up an appointment, of course, I'm happy to do that. But if you're looking for that instantaneous connection with somebody, you can go to the Tutoring Center electronically right here on Canvas. It'll have you open a new tab and then poof, you'll be with a Chandler Gilbert math tutor. So please don't forget that option. I think it could be really helpful, and it might help ease frustration if you're waiting for me to write you back, or if you and I are trying to find a time that works. That's all fine and dandy, but you do have access to these tutors as well. They're there like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and then on Friday and Saturday they have half days. So take advantage of that as well, okay? Thank you guys for your time, and like I said, we will be in touch. Thanks for all your hard work.